I would like to welcome you to the fourth webinar in the context of sustainability. This session will be recorded, and that is, of course, to enable for everybody else who really can't participate right now to have a look at it afterwards. So my name is Ulf Bramsted. I have the privilege to lead the strategic working group for sustainability in the European Federation. And as you probably saw in the invite, it's stated very clearly that in today's world, sustainability is much, much more than a buzzword. It is a necessity. And we as a community are facing significant challenges in all areas of sustainability. That is long-term health of the planet, our horses, and ourselves. That is the sport. We all do know that there is short actions needed, not the least after what happened before the Olympic Games. We know that we need to take short-term actions, but to change culture and habits, we need long-term plans, that is strategies. And the European Federation have, together with the company White Griffin, built a tool to support creating a sustainability strategy. And to present that, we today will be guided by Katerina Liberi. Katerina is initially from the Greek Federation, but she will from today, very welcome Katerina, will be working 50% for European Federation with sustainability. And we also will be guided by Ruth Dancer, who is from the White Griffin, who have been instrumental in producing this support tool. So again, very welcome to this webinar, and I hope, really hope, an inspiring afternoon.
Thank you so much, Ulf. Would you like me to take it from here?
Yes, absolutely.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Ulf, if you'd be so kind as to confirm that everything is sharing as it should on the screen. That's great. Yes, thank you so much. And today's session is really a practical one to take you through the tool. We've designed the tool in a way that it's easy to use, but equally building a strategy is always going to be a complex task. And it's an important one because, as Ulf outlined, sustainability isn't an option anymore. This really is something that absolutely everyone has to think about, whether it's because of their stakeholder requirement, financial needs, operational challenges, the climate itself, pressure from other organizations, or indeed just a moral and ethical motivation to do so. And you will be familiar that the EEF considers sustainability as a three-column framework: environmental sustainability, horse welfare, and social responsibility. The three very much intertwine with one another. This strategy tool that you can see on the screen can be found in the EEF Sustainability website, here under Tools, Sustainability Strategy Creator. And when you go into that section, it'll ask you to log in. So just create a simple login, and from there on in, you have access to everything in the site. The site is designed in a way that you can either process it in a linear fashion. So as you can see at the bottom of the screen here, you have a next button, and it'll take you through the 29 pages. You can go through sequentially, or down the right-hand side, you can go by section. And that's designed so that inevitably you will need to come back again and again to this. It's simply not possible to write a strategy in one sitting. It wouldn't be appropriate to do so. So this means that you can move around the site in a way that suits your process and way of working. So let's just take a look. In the white section about the framework is really an introduction. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of that. And a useful piece of information that Katerina, who's going to take you through how she practically has used this tool so far, said, is that she found it helpful to actually read through the whole tool before she started the actual process of producing her strategy. The Strategy Creator tool has been designed so that you can develop your own sustainability strategy in-house. As consultants, we work hand in glove with clients, federations, the supply chain, different organizations every single day on a one-to-one basis. But this tool also enables you to do this in-house for yourself. And we've really done this with the EEF to help expedite the process of change. As Ulf says, this is a necessary thing we need to do, but it's also something we need to do really, really quickly. We are running out of time in terms of being able to transform our sport and our businesses in order to work towards becoming sustainable. And sustainability for equestrians is slightly different than from for other sports or organisations, because of course we take into consideration the horse welfare alongside people and planet, which is what makes us unique. So you'll find as we go through here that when we talk about sustainability, we mean it in the broadest sense of the word. How do we maintain the sustainability of our sport? And as the Brundtland Commission statement from Grow Brundtland says from back in the 80s, sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Your strategy essentially will hang on that statement, understanding that we want to be able to do what we want to do, compete at a very high level, encourage participation at a grassroots level, and everything in between. But we need to do that in a way that is sustainable for the welfare of the horse and sustainable for the environment too. Equestrian organisations need a strategy because fundamentally we need to know what we're aiming for. A lot of people will say to me, well, surely if I just do the right thing, that's what's necessary. But if you don't know what you're aiming for, you're not likely to have a successful outcome. We need to have a plan. And with something as complex as the topics, particularly of horse welfare and the environment, committing that plan to paper and doing it in an organised way is really, really important for organisations to make sure that you achieve your goals along the way. So if devising a strategy is something new to you, I hope this tool will help you understand what goes into that process. And then we move into this blue section here on the screen, which is preparing for the actual physical creation of the strategy. So this is setting yourself up for success. And what you'll find in here is a range of resources that we've done to shortcut the process for you. The first of those resources, as you see on this page, is your notes workbook. So to access it, you simply click on these buttons, and we have an example version here. So you can see the sorts of things you need to be looking at. And this is what you'll see when you download it. It's an explanation of the different stages as you go through and an opportunity for you to make notes as you go. So what you'll see as we work through the tool is a little icon that looks like this, like a little note sort of clipboard. And every time you see that clipboard, you know that it relates to a section in that workbook for you to make notes on what is relevant for you as an organization. In order to fully embrace sustainability, we must, of course, first know what it really means. And these are really complex topics. Typically, we run workshops for a minimum of a day to help explain even just the environmental aspect. So it's important that you feel confident in the topics themselves before you start developing a strategy. And to do that, we've spent a considerable amount of time developing this resources hub for all of the nations associated with the EEF. You'll see each of the countries listed down here, and each one has a downloadable resources sheet. I will just pick one, right, well, but let's pick our own. Here we go, Great Britain. I'm sat here in the rain right now. We've had nothing but rain this year, thanks to lovely climate change. And this is what it looks like. So you will have a breakdown of what to expect from a climate point of view in Britain, an equine and human welfare point of view. These are obviously summaries, land, water, and resource use. And then perhaps most importantly, environmental laws and planning. Why have we put this in here? Well, because it's important to understand how your federation will be impacted by what's going on in a broader context. So for example, in Britain, we are legally bound to a net zero commitment by 2050. And you'll see here all the way through, we've provided the sources so that if things change, obviously you can see where the original information came from. We have a commitment in Britain that electricity must come from 100% renewable energy by 2035. And maybe most importantly, there'll be no new diesel and petrol cars and vans sold from 2035 onwards. So when we're thinking in Britain about creating our strategy, we need to bear in mind that our equestrians will be impacted by the fact that we won't be able to purchase new horse transportation in its current form from 2035 onwards. So we need to ensure that we have options available, whether those be hybrid, electric, or even hydrogen as it moves forward, or if they're not available, to work with the industry, with government, on understanding what the solution will be for horse transportation from 2035. That's our responsibility as a federation, to make sure that we're raising those topics. So for you, in each of your countries, you will have different things. They could be connected to waste. As you can see here, this section is about waste. So we had our single-use plastic ban from last year, which impacted all of our equestrian venues and events. For land management, again, different laws in each country. We have a commitment in the UK to protect 30% of our land by 2030. The UK is actually one of the most degraded countries in the world in terms of biodiversity. We're in the bottom 10%. So we have quite lofty ambitions and requirements for what we all do. And as equestrians, of course, we have a huge potential for enhancing our nature, our grasslands, putting trees in, hedgerows, etc. So again, understanding the legal framework within your own country will help you with determining your own strategy. We also identify water use. And then for the countries where this is relevant, we have the European Union laws of note in the same categories. And finally, at the bottom, the worldwide laws of note, but specifically frameworks like the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is a framework that you might choose to utilize. So as I say, each country has these, there we go, bring us back. Each country has these elements. There we go, apologies, there we go, find my way back to the original screen. Each country has a downloadable version that's specific to you. Equally on this screen, you'll see that you have two other boxes here. The UN Sustainable Development Goals also have country-specific information, which we provided you access to here. And here we've got links to the latest information from the Equine Ethics and Wellbeing Commission. So these will give you a really good starting point for what you need to be thinking about in terms of what's going on beyond your federation and how it impacts your sport. Finally, in this area, we need to think not just about how we work to become more sustainable from a mitigation point of view, i.e. minimizing our impact, using less mains water, creating less waste, protecting the land in a better way, but also how we adapt to the inevitable consequences of climate change. And we're going to be providing more resources on what that looks like. But on a fundamental level, we know, because we've seen in recent years, that we're starting to see more frequent, more ferocious changes in weather throughout Europe, whether that be drought or floods, storms indeed. And that has a direct impact on horse welfare, on the ability to run competitions, on biosecurity, on our supply chain. So we in our strategy need to think not just about how we reduce our negative impact on the environment, but also how we adapt to the inevitable changes that will impact both our sport and the horses themselves. Katerina is going to cover this in more detail, but I'll just gloss over it briefly for you here. When we think about creating a strategy, it's really important to gain buy-in from your stakeholders, so within your own team, your boards, and potentially beyond. And this can be done in a number of different ways. So you'll see our little clipboard here, which means that within the workbook, you'll see that we have opportunities for you to note who should be involved in this process. Is it a working group? Is it a green group? Is it your board? Do you need to send a questionnaire out to your membership? So thinking about, before we actually put pen to paper, who needs to be involved in this process? And then similarly, over what time frame? What does that project plan look like? Again, setting yourself up for success in a planned way. And finally, thinking about what happens afterwards. Creating a document can sometimes feel like a one-shot thing. It's something that gets filed away. But a sustainability strategy is a living document. It's a living way in which you will run your federation and your organizations moving forward. So it's important to give a little bit of time at the outset to thinking about what next. Once I've gone through this process, who's going to be able to deliver this for us? Whose responsibility is it? How am I going to communicate it? And so we move into the actual process of creating the strategy itself. And here what we've done is create a very simple template for you. You can choose to use this, or you may have your own marketing departments, you may have your own way of doing things, but ultimately these are a series of templates that give you an idea of the structure of the document. And I'm going to take you through these page by page, but ultimately at the beginning, you can download the entire thing, either in portrait or landscape, depending on the style that you tend to prefer within your business. And moving forward, you can also download those pages on an individual basis. So starting, of course, with the cover page. And it's really important to think about the look and feel and ethos that you're trying to project, the tone for your vision. Is it something that's going to be very horse-centric? Obviously, as the images we've got here, do you want it to be more global looking? It's got to be in tune with your brand. So this is very much setting the tone for what your strategy is going to look like. Your contents page, obviously, you'll complete at the end once you know exactly your page numbers. And moving to the introduction. So in the introduction, it's important that you give people who are reading this document for the first time the opportunity to understand what the document's about, why it exists. You might wish to do that by means of a foreword from your chair, your Secretary General, or whomever would be most appropriate, or you might choose to do this as an introduction, as we've shown here. And here we need to be thinking about, what's this document about? Why the organization has chosen to create a strategy on sustainability, why you recognize that it's important, how you intend to approach the topic, and really your hopes for the future. I think it's important to say that a sustainability strategy is different maybe from any other business strategy, because we're talking about quite an emotive topic, really. We need to make sure that we are setting out the vision and the tone for what you as a federation or organization really believe in, what you're really trying to communicate to the world about your intent. And I think that in the introduction, that's a good opportunity for you to set the scene. Here in the background page, we've actually provided, if you click on here, some sample wording, which might help you just to slot into your document, which just explains the global and national picture to sustainability. And even we've included there the EEF stance on sustainability, which you might wish to include. This is about why the Federation and equestrianism is impacted and the drivers for change. So this is very much your motivation for why you've written this document and the background to it. And then we move into your vision. So again, you will see this in your workbook. And we're asking you, maybe as a working group or whatever type of team you've decided to form, to really think about these questions. Again, Katerina is going to cover this in more detail, but as a flavor, the sorts of questions we want you to ask yourself is, what matters to you individually and as an organization? What motivates you? What do you care about in this topic? What's going to help you in putting together this strategy and overcoming the challenges that may invariably come? How is your organization impacted by climate change, and what steps you want to take in the short, medium, and long term? All of these will help you to determine your vision and ultimately your vision statement. And maybe number 9 there, what future would you like to visualize, is quite a powerful one, because this is about the role that your federation and organization is going to play in creating a sustainable future. Once you've gone through that process of thinking through what that really means, you'll need to craft that into a sentence, something that's punchy and engaging, that really says to people what your federation and organization stands for. And you'll want to put that on its own on a page, as we've shown here. A note about this page, that whilst the words are incredibly important, they're almost your elevator pitch. The image is also just as important, because what you choose to put in that photograph, I mean, here we've just shown images of children, because typically one thinks about sustainability as supporting future generations. But the tone and the type of image will also reflect and contribute to how people think of your vision and the way the Federation intends to contribute to sustainability. So do give some thought to the image and the look and feel of that page. Here we get into the real meat of how to construct a strategy. And this is a little bit complex and it needs some time taking over it. You'll see here that we have 2 buttons, again, as a downloadable template. And this is a really simple Excel document. So when we're conducting a workshop with people on an individual basis, typically this is the point at which we're brainstorming with a team. We're working through what are the different areas of the business or the Federation that you have control over? What can you directly impact? What are the areas of the business that actually you have influence over? And the way in which you can change your operations to become more sustainable directly in the things you have control over, and in a more influential way, perhaps through modeling change or through your communications process. So let me just show you the activity matrix. This is what it looks like. So here we've got a basic explanation of what it's all about. And along the bottom, you'll see we cover the 3 EEF pillars of sustainability: environmental sustainability, social responsibility, and horse welfare. Now, the example I'm showing on the screen is the example version. So if you open up the template, everything that's in red or indeed in black on the other side will not be present. It's for you to fill in for yourself. But let me just explain how it's structured. So in section 1, this blue section, it's about understanding the impact of your operations. And over here in the yellow section, this is about devising a plan to work to become sustainable. So in our blue section under the environmental sustainability tab, we have our categories. So this will be whatever your federation or organization is comprised of. So in this example, we have a head office, we run events, we do some training, we have a breeding program, and we have a membership. For you, this might be different, and Katerina will talk about the differences she has in her federation. For you as an organization, you might have direct control over different things, and that's what you would put in that category. In the next section here, under activity, and you can see here a little pop-up, we've put little explainers on almost everything just to support you in using this tool moving forward. Under activity, we then put a little bit more detail. So thinking about our head office, we have our electricity, we have oil for heating the office, we use stationery, IT equipment, and so on and so forth. And all of this is in our direct control. So here you have the option to say yes or no, whether it is or it isn't. Here we identify what the environmental impact of our operations is. So with electricity that goes into our building, electricity creates greenhouse gas emissions. So here we've ticked yes. We could have ticked no as an alternative. It doesn't particularly impact on water use or biodiversity. Specifically, this impact is more about emissions. So moving across, when we think about, well, what can we do about our electricity to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions? Well, we could switch to a green energy tariff. We could consider solar, or we could consider wind turbines. We could think about just reducing our use of electricity, maybe through light switch off schemes or putting LED lights in, something like that. So here we're thinking about, on a practical basis, what can we actually do? Similarly, looking down, perhaps our events, we have winter championships going on, which comprises of multiple riders. We use diesel generators, we have stable infrastructure, we use water for the horses. So here you can see that this activity has multiple impacts. Yes, 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 all across the board. And so as we scroll across here, looking at this line, we need to be thinking about how we can act differently to make that event as sustainable as it possibly can be. And you'll see here, we've utilized the EEF green code here. So reducing greenhouse gases, promoting responsible resource use, encouraging waste reduction, promoting responsible water consumption, protecting local biodiversity, promoting technological advances and innovations, creating a fair and just ethical standard, and considering the impact of the horse on all our actions. So you would use this document to, as I say, understand the impact of your organization in full, and then consider how you can make a change to your operations. The final stage of using this particular template is to scroll to the bottom here and use the columns vertically. So we would set our goals by looking through each topic. So this one here is about greenhouse gas emissions, and we would read through the different actions that we have suggested across our different areas of activity and set goals for ourselves. So our goal here for this sample organization could be reduce emissions through all our activities. It could be report on our emissions annually by doing a carbon footprint. And maybe it could be about creating learning opportunities for members so they understand how to use less electricity or fuel. So this process is mirrored for social responsibility and for horse welfare. But of course, the categories are different. So here we've talked about the 5 freedoms, independent checks, supporting social license. These are all cues, directions given by the Ethical and Welfare Committee that we referred to earlier on. So as I say, it's a very detailed document, but it's intended to focus your mind on what are our operations and how do they impact on our 3 pillars: environment, society, and horse welfare. So once you have completed that process with your team, you would then use all of that data to enter into the next document. So here we've got our activities page. So you might wish to put in your strategy what you have direct influence over and what you can have influence on in a broader sense, so that your reader can understand what you're directly intending to do, getting your own house in order, as it were, and how you can support broader change. When we think about our sustainable aspirations and our goals, we can look at it in different ways. We can go at a micro level, or we can go for big headlines. So for example, a commitment to net zero, or it could be more about going paperless. It's up to you. This is your strategy, but I would say make your goals meaningful, make sure they actually make a difference and they shift the dial in terms of sustainability, and make them relevant and achievable for yourselves. Don't set a goal that is not at all possible or achievable. And then finally to our actions. So if we know what we want to achieve, how we're going to achieve them was, of course, in that second section of the spreadsheet I just showed you. So you're quite simply transposing across into here what you're going to do. So if my goal is net zero, or indeed reducing our emissions by 50%, then here you would say how you're going to do that. So it could be exploring renewable energy options. It could be reducing our energy consumption overall. It could be considering the use of HVO fuel in our diesel generators at our events. Whatever is appropriate to you, these are the specific actions you're going to take that will get you to your goal. And your roadmap is your final step. And this is where I think you can let out a breath, because a lot of people feel that that sense of urgency means you're having to do everything right now. But of course, though we are in a precarious predicament, a tipping point, you could say, we do have time. We have time to get this right as long as we start now. Your roadmap will define what you're going to do year on year. It means financially you can plan. It means operationally you can plan. And from a communications point of view, you can let people know what you intend to do when. A lot of people feel a concern of putting anything out there about sustainability because they think people will say, well, you're not doing enough, or this is greenwash. This roadmap gives you the opportunity to say, I know we're not doing everything right now, but this is what we intend to do next year. And this is what we intend to do the year after. It settles the conversation down, and it means we can have a grown-up approach to reaching sustainability. And your closing page really is that parting sentence, as I'm going to do now as I hand over to Katerina. It's that final thought that you want to leave your readers with about what your strategy means to you. So whereas your vision is about what I intend to do, you might want to think about the closing page as a commitment. We are committed as a team to delivering this, or we will strive in every way to make sure that we deliver this successfully. Whatever makes sense to you, that you feel passionate about, that adequately and appropriately reflects your federation or organization. So by the end of that process, you will have worked through what sustainability means to you. You will have created a document that you're happy with. And at any point along the way, you can contact Katerina from the EEF for support. But of course, we need to think about implementing our strategy. And this very, very last slide before I move on to Katerina is just a reminder that once you've completed your strategy, you then need to take the first step. And whilst you're preparing your strategy, always keep in mind what that first step's going to be. And my advice to you is pick something which is simple, quick and easy to do, and engages either you or your team, because what you want is an immediate win. You don't want to tackle the tough stuff first, because this can be a topic where motivation is key. And it can become very contagious. Once you have one success and you transform something, that behavior change starts to grow and it takes shape and it can be transformative. Equally, if you try something and it fails or it doesn't work or it's hard to do, it makes continuing on with the strategy much, much more challenging. So my tip before I hand over to Katerina is, when you're constructing your strategy, think about the thing that really engaged people the most, even if it was something very, very small in terms of its impact, and prepare to do that first. So the minute that you launch your strategy, you're ready to get working with your first sustainable activity. And with that, I'm now going to hand over to Katerina, who's going to take you through how she's used this tool and how the Greek Federation are going to move forward with their sustainable planning. Katerina?
Thank you, Ruth. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join today's webinar on developing a sustainability strategy for equestrian federations. My name is Katerina Liberi, and I'm excited to take you through this important discussion on sustainability and how it applies to our sport. We all know that sports have a unique ability to bring people together from all walks of life. Today, more than ever, sport federations are not being recognized not just for the competitions they organize, but also by their potential to drive meaningful environmental and social change. Equestrian sports are no exception, and in this session, we will explore how to develop a sustainability strategy that addresses our unique challenges while creating opportunities for growth and impact. Climate change is already disrupting play. For example, the US Tennis Association introduced an extreme heat policy after the 2018 US Open to allow players periodic breaks during high temperatures. More recently, during the 2024 UEFA European Football Championship in Germany, a game had to be suspended because of an intense thunderstorm with heavy rain. And extreme heat doesn't just affect only summer sports. According to a 2022 study, half of the former Winter Olympic host cities could be unable to sponsor winter games by 2050 due to a lack of snow and ice. Equestrian sport, like any other, has its own environmental, social, and economic considerations. Climate change is already affecting outdoor sports, and equestrian competition are no stranger to these impacts. Venues that were once ideal may no longer be suitable, and we are starting to see changes in how competitions are organized in terms of adjusting for extreme weather conditions. A sustainability strategy helps the federation remain proactive and adaptable to new regulations set by governing bodies, both nationally and internationally. By incorporating sustainability into the core of our operations, we are not just protecting our environment, but also ensuring the well-being and safety of our athletes and horses while preparing for a more resilient future. Sustainability strategy can help an organization with cost control. Although implementing sustainable practices may require an initial investment, the long-term benefits far outweigh the costs. We will see savings from reduced utility bills, lower maintenance costs, and more efficient waste management practices. Additionally, a robust sustainability strategy opens doors to new revenue streams. Sponsors are increasingly looking to align with organizations that promote eco-friendly initiatives. By integrating sustainability, not only do we reduce our environmental impact, but we also enhance our financial performance. By prioritizing sustainability, we send a clear message to our stakeholders, athletes, sponsors, and the public that we are committed to responsible stewardship. This helps us build long-lasting, mutually beneficial relationships. Athletes in particular will benefit from safer, more inclusive environments, and when they are engaged in sustainability education, they become ambassadors for these values, promoting them both inside and outside the sport. Sponsors, on the other hand, are increasingly attracted to sustainable efforts. As already mentioned, they look for organizations that align with their own values and environmental and social responsibility. From the sponsor's point of view, collaboration with an equestrian federation or event with a strong sustainability strategy also provides marketing opportunities where the sponsors can highlight their commitment to sustainability. Moreover, governments are introducing more regulations around environmental protection, public health, and social equity. A sustainability strategy ensures that we are prepared to meet these requirements, creating a proactive image and unlocking potential government funding for facility improvements and community programs. Finally, adopting sustainability leaves behind a positive legacy. A federation that is not only concerned with short-term gains, but is actively planning for a sustainable future. This approach appeals to all stakeholders and ensures the long-term viability of the sport. In conclusion, by adapting sustainability as a core principle, we can build trust and support from the public, our sponsors, and our governing bodies. It's not just about staying relevant in a changing world, but about leading by example, promoting environmental stewardship, and enhancing horse welfare. Together, we can ensure that equestrian sports remain a respected and thriving part of the global sporting landscape. Now, let's take the next step in planning our sustainable future. Sustainability is not just a trend, it's a commitment that drives real, long-lasting change within an organization. When a federation integrates sustainability into its strategic vision, resources, and leadership, it becomes deeply embedded into every facet of the organization. This ensures that sustainable practices are not just effective, but accountable and integral to our success. Let's start with strategic direction. When the leaders of the organization prioritize sustainability, It becomes a fundamental part of the vision, mission, and long-term goals. Sustainability is no longer seen as an add-on. It's embedded in the overall business strategy, shaping every decision we make. By placing sustainability at the core of our vision, we send a message that this is not optional, it is vital to our future success. Next, we must discuss resources. Sustainability initiatives often require investments in new technologies, training, and infrastructure. Executive commitment ensures that these initiatives receive the necessary financial, human, and technological support. Without the right resources, sustainability efforts may falter. With proper investment, however, we lay the foundation for long-term success. Sustainability must be reflected in the culture of our federation. Leadership sets the tone. When top managers consistently communicate their commitment to sustainability and lead by example, it creates a culture of responsibility that filters down through the entire organization. This encourages not only employees, but also equestrian clubs, athletes, and professionals to focus on sustainable practices, fostering a shared sense of purpose. We also need strong accountability. This includes setting measurable targets for sustainability, integrating sustainability into performance reviews, and establishing oversight committees. By doing so, we ensure that our initiatives are tracked, monitored, and continuously improved. This isn't a set it and forget it process. It's an ongoing commitment. Stakeholders, whether they are athletes, sponsors, employees, or the community, expect us to take sustainability seriously. When we do it, it enhances our credibility and builds trust. A strong sustainability strategy signals that we are committed to addressing environmental and social issues, which can improve our reputation and foster loyalty from those who matter most to us. By prioritizing sustainability, we are also future-proofing our federation. A forward-thinking approach to sustainability allows us to manage risks associated with climate change, resource scarcity, and evolving regulations. This resilience will help ensure our long-term viability and enable us to adapt to challenges as they arise. Leadership commitment to sustainability also sparks innovation. It encourages the development of new formats, processes, and business models that are not only sustainable, but also competitive. This focus on innovation can differentiate us in the market and attract broader, more eco-conscious fan base. Before we dive deeper into the strategy, it's crucial to conduct a comprehensive review of the current sustainability landscape. I suggest reviewing relevant documents developed by sport governing bodies and the International Olympic Committee, as well as the country-specific guidelines. It is important to understand where we currently stand and where we need to go. To create a comprehensive sustainability strategy, we need a collaborative approach. A diverse working group will ensure we have the expertise, perspectives, and authority needed to develop actionable plans. This group should include the key stakeholders who play a critical role in shaping our strategy, ensuring it is practical, cost-effective, and aligned with our goals. A member of the board of the federation is essential to provide continuity with the big picture strategy, give decision-making authority and access to resources. The member of the board over other high-ranking official is an executive that can also forward the meetings of the Sustainability Working Group to the board. For the National Federation of Greece, this person is Mr. Adonis Diamandouros. Event managers and organizers. Why? To put knowledge with regards to practical aspects of equestrian events, including logistics, use of resources, and specific areas where sustainable practices can be implemented inside competition events. As the Hellenic Equestrian Federation acts as organizer, the competition managers of the three main disciplines will be invited to this sustainability working group. For jumping is Mrs. Epi Haralabopoulou, dressage Mrs. Anna Kotsiou, and endurance Katerina Halkopoulou. To form a sustainability strategy, we need the knowledge of riders and coaches because equestrian facilities and services are availed most by them. Their points of view ensure that measures of sustainability undertaken bear no compromise on training, safety, or performance. In our working group, this role will be held by the athletes representative in the board and chairman of the Jumping Technical Committee, Mr. Stavros Georgopoulos. Equestrian sport is peculiar in terms of the involvement of horses, which places the welfare of the animals as the very important component of the sustainability strategy, so the presence of a veterinarian is essential. Such specialists would be able to bring in best practice with regards to ethical treatment and welfare of concerns related to horses. This person for Greece is Dr. Alexandros Mitsopoulos, Head National Veterinarian. The input of a venue manager in the Sustainability Working Group ensures that the strategy is practical, cost-effective, and tailored to the venue's unique operational context. The expertise in facility management, compliance, and resource use makes the venue manager a vital contributor to developing, implementing, and monitoring sustainability initiatives that can make a tangible impact on both the venue and the federation's overall sustainability goals. In our working group, the member of the board that we mentioned before, Mr. Adonis Diamandaras, will hold this role also, as he is responsible for the venue, the Olympic Equestrian Center of Markopoulou. Sustainability initiatives should be in line with sponsors' expectations and for this purpose, the sponsorship and marketing managers should be engaged with the aim to communicate the Federation's sustainability endeavors to the fans, sponsors, and the public. This position is held for many years from Mrs. Lillian Didi, and her expertise and experience will be valuable to the strategic development. After forming the Sustainability Working Group, we need to prepare the content of the meetings. Our first meeting will focus on discussing the principles of sustainable development and identifying the values that guide our organization. The goal is to establish key sustainability principles and goals most relevant to our federation. For the first meeting, I will prepare a presentation which summarizes the information learned by reviewing the sports governing bodies, sustainability strategy, and a list of global and local sustainability issues and topics that are critical for the equestrian sport to be discussed in the meeting. In the second meeting, we will conduct a baseline assessment to review our current efforts and identify areas for improvement. Gathering insight from stakeholders such as employees, athletes, and sponsors will help us understand expectations and prioritize key issues. For this purpose, I have developed a set of questions for employees and athletes. The research for the sponsors' expectations will be conducted by interviews and research on their strategic plans. In our third meeting, the third meeting will involve exploring the Federation's activities using the activity matrix to identify areas where we have control and influence. This will help us better understand where sustainability can have the greatest impact. To explore these matters, we will use the activity matrix, as I said before, which we can find on page 20 of the framework. And as the Greek Federation runs a venue and hosts competitions in the Olympic Equestrian Center, we will add in the venue on the activity matrix. The fourth meeting will be dedicated to defining our vision and mission for sustainability. Our vision is a future-focused statement that inspires and sets long-term aspiration for our sustainability efforts. Our vision will be set based on the team's answers in the following questions. What matters to each member of the team individually and as an organization? How is the Federation impacted by climate change? What steps will be taken in the short, medium, and long term? What does success look and feel like? What words best describe our role as a federation in acting on the environmental, horse welfare concerns and social change? How do you consider your members will be impacted by climate change, horse welfare, and social change? How can the Federation positively impact horse welfare? How can the Federation benefit the local community? And what future we would like to visualize? The mission defines our purpose and outlines the specific actions we will take to achieve this vision. It's clear, action-oriented declaration of how we will approach sustainability and guide our decision-making processes. By doing so, we communicate our core values to stakeholders and ensure everyone is aligned with our sustainability goals. The question to help us set a strong mission is how we will work toward our sustainability vision. In our fifth meeting, we will set specific, measurable, and time-bound goals that align with the vision and mission of the Federation. These goals will integrate environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and economic viability into the core of our operations. The actions we will take, we will follow the goals established using the activity matrix. The process of creating a sustainability strategy requires teamwork, and results will take time. Over the 6 to 8 weeks, we will hold meetings to gather feedback, review data, and refine our plans. In the coming months, we will reconvene to review the progress and outcomes of this process. The road to sustainability is not easy, but it's one we must take to ensure the future of our federation and the sport we love. I look forward to continuing this journey together as we build a sustainable future for equestrian sports. Thank you all for your time and attention today.
Ruth, Katerina, thank you so much for taking us through that. It might feel like a lot of information. It is a lot of information, but it's all there for you. We really would urge you just to take some time to now look through the tool, to digest what you've heard today and the resource that we have there, and then to make a start. Some of you might already be on that journey. You might have a strategy. Maybe you already made a strategy a few years ago, but using this tool, you can look to update and make sure you're in line with the current plans. If there are questions now, we're open. Please either raise your hand and I can put your audio on, or you can use the Q&A box. We're very happy to answer anything, but equally, as I say, I think for a lot of people, it might be going away, having a look, getting into the depths of it. And our plan is to hold a clinic in about 6 weeks' time. So then if you've started on this and you're finding that something's not making sense, or you're not quite sure how to apply it for the needs that you have in your organization, we can be there to really look at that and help you find the solution. So I'll leave it open for a moment, see if anybody has a question. I see no hands raised. In which case, I will just thank again Katerina and Ruth for their time. A lot of work has gone into making this tool, and we really hope it can be something of serious value to you, your organization. As I say, we remain available to you. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or you need clarification. And we thank you for your time today. Oh, we have one question. Oh, no, it's a compliment. The tool looks good. Thank you for your work. That's a good one.